Welcome to our virtual happy hour presented by Spirit Hub. Welcome to episode 6. We've got an awesome episode scheduled for you guys with David Cohen from Manifest Distilling of Jacksonville, Florida. David, if you want to give a little hello.
Hey guys, how are you? Here in Jacksonville, right in our distillery. Looking forward to this.
Awesome. For everybody that's joining us again, welcome back. For everybody new, just to give you a kind of refresher of who we are at Spirit Hub. We love independent craft distilleries from all across the United States. Right now, we are an online retailer, so e-commerce that delivers to customers in the state of Illinois. We carry over 200 craft distilleries, independent craft distilleries, and over 1,300 products from those distilleries. Like I said, we probably deliver to all customers in Illinois for the time being, and we look forward to serving you. If you have any questions during this, David's going to be showing some awesome spirits. Like I said, he's in Florida and pretty much here in a couple other states. Feel free to ask any questions in the Facebook Live feed or the chat. We'd be happy to answer them as we go. If you have anything, like I said, for myself or David, we'd be happy to take care of that. But outside of that, I'm done speaking right now. But David, you can take the floor.
Thanks, Paul. We appreciate you guys inviting us, and we love working with Spirit Hub. And this is a really fun way to bring a little bit of Florida up to Illinois. We were just talking off camera. It's sunny here. I don't want to rub that in anyone's face, but we've been lucky with some nice weather. Yeah, that's right. That's good. So we're excited to share some spirits with you. You guys have most of our core lineup, but today we're just going to walk through two and a half, technically 3 spirits. But a little bit about who we are. So Manifest Distilling is a organic craft distillery based in downtown Jacksonville. If you could see on the other side of my computer screen, right over there, you'd see our baseball grounds and our NFL stadium. So we're right central heart of downtown. Personally, I'm a Jacksonville native. I'm one of the original founders of the business, along with a couple of other guys. But we're really a company made up of a lot of Jacksonville and Florida natives or transplants who now call it home. I mentioned earlier, we are an organic facility, which just means that we can produce organic spirits. Doesn't mean that everything we produce is organic, but a lot of what we do and everything we're tasting today, for example, is organic and therefore non-GMO. We've been here, I think, 4 years this September since we opened our tasting room. Not bad at all. We actually got our start before we opened doing some distilling up in Chicago with a good sized craft distillery. Yeah, with Koval, the fine people at Koval. Yeah. So I did schooling at Siebel Institute, and that's how I met the Berneckers. And then we ended up distilling some spirits there before we opened, just to get stuff in barrel. We've since blown through all that. So what we're tasting today was made 100% made in-house. But that was an awesome experience. But yeah, I think we could probably just start diving in on some of these spirits if there's no questions. We
definitely want to know what you've got there. Definitely let us know what you have in front of you. David's going to be going over these spirits, tasting them, giving us some good notes. And then for the second section, stay with us. We're going to be digging into some awesome cocktails that David will be making for us. So back to you, David.
Great. Thanks, Paul. So first, our gin. So this is our organic gin. So I am a self-proclaimed gin head, along with a lot of us here at Manifest. So this one was particularly important for us when we were going through development. I think it was minimum 9 months trial and error process of getting our recipe right. It was myself and my head of sales, Tom Johnson. We were very hard-headed about making sure that this product was something we were going to be happy with, which is tough because there's a lot of really great gins out there, especially in the past 5 years with the resurgence of craft distilling. So with this gin, I'm going to show you guys a bottle that has the composition of Botanicals that we use. Nice. So as you can see, it's obviously predominantly juniper, which is a rule. So it's over 50% juniper, but everything else that you've got in here You've got citrus peels on the bottom. We use orange and lemon peel. And you've got green cardamom pods. You've got coriander. And then at the very top, you've got angelica root. And that's about the ratios of our recipe. So a lot of coriander, as you can see, which gives it a really nice kind of white pepper spice. With all of our products, being cocktail forward was really important to us. And what that means to us is we want to produce something that can stand up in a drink. A lot of gins out there, in my opinion, get lost when you add a tonic, which is a very popular gin drink. So we wanted to make something that shined through, that stood up to gin. Same thing with the Negroni, which if you're around later, that's what we're making. One of my favorite drinks. And this gin does that. So I'm going to indulge myself and make a little dram of gin here.
And while you're pouring, David, just a question. So I don't know if you touched on this, but do you have a category or style that your gin falls under?
Delicious. Is that a style?
That's good.
Good.
We can't put that on the website, but yeah, close.
So I think this would be categorized as a contemporary or new world style. It is not a London dry by any means. In fact, I often encourage people to stay away from doing a traditional dry martini with it, just because the coriander and the cardamom are so just herbal and big. I mean, it's a big gin. To me, it just doesn't marry well as a dry. But really with anything else, it does. And so, yeah, that's why I think it gives that new world style.
Perfect. Didn't want to stop you from going into it, but you can definitely tell us what you're smelling, what you're tasting, all that stuff.
Yeah. So a couple things. Citrus is obviously a really important crop to Florida. We want to be geographically aware of where we are. Florida doesn't grow grain terribly well, grows corn well. And then we do a bang up job of fruit. So citrus was an important piece. And that's why we do use a good amount of fresh and dried lemon and grapefruit. So on the nose, the first thing I get is you get that really bright, punchy citrus note just right off the top. And the more time you spend with it, that's where some of those more vegetal, earthier elements like the cardamom and the coriander come out, which gives it a really interesting kind of that you get that green cardamom, real vegetal. You get the white pepper spice from the cardamom, and then the angelica root's really just a marrying agent. That actual root itself, like a lot of other roots, like orris root, it's really there to kind of stitch everything together. Sometimes it adds a little touch of sweetness, but the angelica root's actually fairly dry. It's that blending agent. And then obviously you get the juniper. I mean, that's not going to miss that.
What it is. Yeah. As David takes a sip.
Paul, I wish I could just.
I know. This is all I have. This is all. I get to try the potato vodka later.
Well, maybe with each one that we taste, you can just think about what I'm saying.
There we go. That's exactly what's going through my mind.
You'll be there. Yeah.
For sure. I'm there with you.
Do you want to shift gears and talk about the barrel gin?
For sure. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Go straight into that. It might be actually a good thing to talk about.
Okay. Well, for any of you watching or seeing this later, they told me I was only allowed to do 2 spirits, and I was a little sneaky and slipped in this third one because it's technically just a cousin or a brother to what we just tried. So this is. Oh, I didn't mention on the regular gin, it is at 90 proof. Cool. Not uncommon for gin, but again, goes towards that cocktail forward focus. We want something that's gonna not dilute out and is gonna stand up. So here we have the next spirit, which is a barrel aged gin. And as you can see, it's got a much darker color, closer to that of a rum, really an amber rum. Like our regular gin, we were big barrel gin fans ever since really. I think my first experience with it was Ransom out west, and to my knowledge, they were one of the earlier American producers of they called it an Old Tom gin, but it was a barrel aged variety, and I thought it was just a cool spirit. Gives craft distillers the ability to get an aged product out the door and not have to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years like you do with your whiskeys. So the thing that I thought was missing from barrel gins was a depth and a complexity. Both I mentioned TJ earlier, who's our gin head, but both TJ and myself have a little bit of a wine background, him much more than me. So we think about things a lot from that perspective of balance. We want our spirits to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, which you don't hear discussed often. And to me, most of the barrel gins I had didn't carry that depth. They were it was just like, oh, gin, and then there's the oak. So what we set out to do, and I think we've accomplished, is to create that depth. And the way we got there was by aging in multiple different styles of casks. So we use everything from an ex-bourbon to an ex-rye to a new oak to some kind of a European oak, depending on what is available to us. So every batch is slightly different.
Got it.
But all of them have those 4 different styles of oak. They all age for different times, anywhere from 30 days to 6 months. And then we take a blend of all 4 different oak profiles to come up with each batch that we put out.
Awesome.
And what that does is just, it gives it a depth. What were you going to say?
No, nothing. I was saying how interesting it sounds.
So this is one of those things that, what's that?
No, you're good. Go ahead. You're good.
This is one of those things that here in our tasting room, people come in all the time and they see this and they say, oh, what's the dark gin? What's the dark gin that you guys have there? And it's not something that you would gravitate towards unless you've tried it before. Especially people that come in and say, I don't drink gin at all. And most of those people had some kind of a terrible experience with grandmom's, Gordon's gin or something growing up, and they have a bad taste in their mouth. But this is we call it the whiskey drinker's gin, because it kind of converts people back over to the category. But
okay.
Yeah, what's nice about it is you still get those juniper notes, you get the earthy tones, you get a little bit of that bright citrus, but it's really balanced out nicely with the oak, with the different styles of oak, which give it an extended finish.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Cool. How are we doing on time?
We're really good right now. We can definitely still touch on your rye whiskey, which I know you're excited about too. So you can definitely go right into that one as well.
Awesome. So last but not least, our rye whiskey. This is a straight rye. It's an organic product. I didn't really talk about organic with the other two, but basically, as an organic distiller, all that means is that we have chain of custody for everything that we bring in our back door that goes into this product is 100% organic. From the botanicals we use to the neutral, we use a wheat-based neutral for our gins, and then with our whiskey, it's a wheated rye. So we use wheat and rye. Again, has to be all organic. Everything from any enzymes we use, there's no multigrain, so we do use an enzyme in the rye whiskey production. Everything's here is fermented, mashed, distilled, aged in house. It is a 60% rye, 40% wheat mash bill. It's kind of tough, maybe tough to tell in video, but right about there is the dividing line. So that's the rye, and then that portion is the wheat. Again, probably the reason I picked these spirits today, huge rye fan myself. It's kind of what got me into whiskey when I first started drinking whiskey. So what we set out to do was we wanted to create a big cocktail forward rye, but we wanted it to be more accessible than the normal ryes of the world, which are usually 95, 90, 100% rye. And that's why we chose the addition of wheat. We felt that it softens it a little. That wheat typically brings in a little tropicality, but it does a really nice job of kind of toning the rye spice back and balancing it out, which gives people a chance to get into it that may not typically go for a rye.
Cool. And I don't know if I missed this already, but did you touch on what makes a spirit a rye whiskey compared to like a wheat or as far as like the mash bill and all that?
Good question. So just like bourbon has to be 51% corn, rye has to be 51% rye. That's the minimum mash bill. We go into 30 and 53 gallon barrels. Being in Florida, we have a pretty unique climate. We have the same Kentucky summer, but for 9+ months of the year, it's that hot with a pretty ridiculous humidity. So we're seeing a pretty shocking amount of loss in our barrels. But what this year we just switched to a straight, meaning everything we put in the bottle is a minimum of 2 years aged. That's the only thing that straight means on a whiskey. And we're continuing to kind of push the envelope of our age. So we've just bottled some stuff recently that was 3 years old, and it was fantastic. So we're just kind of seeing how far we can go with it until those losses get to be to a point that the profile changes and it over oaks, or we don't know. It's kind of the Wild West. For
sure. I have some questions for you that came through Facebook, but they're not about the rye whiskey. So when we get done, we can ask one's about the gin and one's about the barrel gin too.
Oh, great. Only other thing on the rye. So this is 100 proof. Both of the gins were at 90. This is 100 proof, 50%. Classic. I think we would love to, and we could eventually see our product going into a bottled and bond. Everything's set up to do that. If we can get to that age, and we're happy with where it's at. It's a really fun product, and a lot like our barrel gin, the wheated recipe can kind of brings people into that rye category that don't typically go into that rye category.
Right. Cool.
And I've got to take a sip, so
you got to you have to finish it all. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm. Happy to answer those questions.
For sure. So I wanted you to make sure you finished it all before I went into it. So Michael that asked, what's the base grain you distill your gin from? And did you experiment with other grains?
Good question. So the base grain is a wheat. It's 100% wheat. And we did experiment when we were doing our fractional distillations, our lab trials. Gosh, we tried 7 or 8. We tried corn, cane, wheat. We tried a grape neutral. Believe it or not, there's someone out there that makes a lychee, which is crazy expensive and kind of weird, but cool. What I liked about the wheat is it's commonly used in Italian spirits production. It's a softer spirit. It's softer than cane or corn. You don't get as much of that effusive ethanol. And I really liked how that it kind of laid down and let the botanicals do their job.
Awesome. And then one more from Emily. She asks, do you plan on releasing your barrel rested gin by the barrel type before blending it?
That's a great question too. So we about a year ago, we have a very good relationship with Jed Steele, who's a winemaker out in California, and we put some of our gin directly into a previously used Chardonnay barrel, just to kind of see what would happen. And it was a big wine cask, and in 30 days, it was bloody fantastic. It was so cool. And we ended up releasing it as a single barrel variation, and it sold quite quickly. And we're trying to secure more of those. It was a good child Chardonnay. We're trying to secure more of those barrels. We're also playing around with some sherry barrels. And for my next trick, I'm going to try to go into not really a gin, but still interesting. We're going to take one of our minimum 2 years aged rye, and I'm going to put it back into a gin cask to do a gin finished rye.
That'd be cool.
I've tasted a few expressions from other craft distillers, and it's quite interesting. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, I think we'll all be waiting for that. And we started shipping that, so hopefully it's successful.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, those are all the questions that I've gotten regarding all the product. Thank you for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing the background, especially going super specific on all your products. I think now we're going to branch off into making some really, really cool cocktails. So join us in just a second. And we're back. So for those of you just joining us, we've got David from Manifest Distilling in Jacksonville, Florida. He just talked about his spirits, and we're going to be jumping into, he's going to make us some wonderful cocktails. Both should be wonderful for making at home. So once he gets a little bit cleaned up, we'll start there.
That sounds good. Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
So everybody knows I'm sanitizing. It's just me, and I'm drinking my own drink. But still, got to be careful, right?
You always have to sanitize now. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, and we're making it. Unfortunately, we haven't shipped any of that to you, but we're making more of it than I ever thought I'd care to.
Yeah, right.
All right. Do you want to just get started?
Yeah, let's go into it. Let's. What are you making first?
Okay, so we're going to start with the gins since we tasted those earlier. So I've got today we've got our barrel aged gin, which is right here, and then we've got our regular gin. We're making one of my favorite cocktails, which is a Negroni. It's silly simple, really delicious, great aperitif, perfect before dinner, perfect anytime. And I'm going to make two variations because I have both of these. So I'm going to show you a really fun variation with both. But we're going to start with the regular gin. So I'm going to make you guys a white Negroni. So I am using our regular gin. I am going to use Sailor's aperitif, which is a House Alpin's product. It is a bitter. So a regular Negroni is just equal parts gin, some kind of a bitter like Campari or Aperol, and then some kind of a sweet vermouth. For the white Negroni, because we want it to be white, that's why we're going with the Sailors. And then I'm going to use today Carpano Bianco as a white vermouth. You can use really anything you want. I would stay away from a dry. I also like Koki Americano, which is a white. Those are kind of my two go-tos with the vermouth. So we'll walk through this.
We have, David, just to note too, we do have some white vermouth too on Spirit Hub's website. So if you're interested there, grab a bottle of Manifest Distilling with that as well. Thanks
for bringing that up. Yeah, I think you've got a couple. I think you also have an aperitif on there, a red aperitif from maybe, I don't want to know. I don't want to throw names out and for them to be wrong, but I think
I don't want to throw it either.
Yeah, I think there's a distillery just north of us in Georgia that makes one. So I just went and got ice. I've got this really beautiful mixing glass here. I like to drink my Negroni on a rock. Some people like to drink it up. So I've got this nice rocks glass, and I also happen to have some beautiful cubes. So we've got these really nice crystal clear cocktail cubes, nice. Which in addition, we make these here, and wherever you are, you guys may have access to these, but in addition to them being clear and looking cool, they take a lot longer to melt, so they don't dilute your drink as fast. Cool. So with the gin, like I said, it's equal parts. So for the white Negroni, the perfect size drink for me, I go 1.5 ounces. So we're gonna start with our gin. I'm gonna do 1.5 ounces. And we'll go 1.5 ounces of the white vermouth. I don't know who's drinking all this. I probably could have just done an ounce.
That's fine. Like I said, it's you've had a long day. It all works out.
All right. So we've got all that in a mixing glass. My ride tip bar spoon. So a couple things with the mixing glass, doing a couple things. It's chilling it down really cold. So you get a little bit of dilution, which makes it a little bit easier to drink because it's not just straight alcohol, because it is just straight alcohol. But we want to get it nice and cold. If we're drinking it up, then it's not going to get any colder after that. So that's one reason to make it super cold. The other reason is these crystal clear cubes will fracture if you don't chill down the spirit. I'm sure that was super loud for y'all.
That's a good thing. Don't worry.
Okay. It's a good sound. It makes people thirsty, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So with the Negroni, there's the finished product. And with a Negroni, usually you serve an orange peel, but with a white Negroni, I really like a lemon peel.
Nice. It looks really good. I know it's just clear, but like I said, dry mouth on a long day or a warm day, I'm sure it's refreshing.
So we'll just express this over the edge of it. Like to rub it across the edge of the glass too, so you get some of those oils. You can use some fancy art if you're a better mixologist than me, but I just like to kind of lay it across the top. And then you get the aromatics from it, but cheers.
Thank you so much for making that. Super simple recipe. Like I said, I've got things to do this weekend, but I might have to try that.
Great. That's cool. It's delicious. I need one more sip.
Yeah. There you go. Next, looks like you're making something with the Manifest Rye Whiskey. So once you get a chance, we'll branch off into that.
Sure.
Again, a reminder, if anybody has any questions, feel free, for myself or David, feel free to ask us in the chat. We'd be happy to answer anything regarding the distillery, Spirit Hub, what we do, what they do. We're here to help.
I will throw out one more thing. We don't have to make it because I'm not going to be able to drink all this, but the barrel gin, it can kind of be interchanged as a regular gin replacement or a whiskey replacement. So that drink I just made, I wouldn't make a white Negroni. I would make a regular Negroni. So you can use, I personally like to use Aperol or your aperitif of choice, and then a really nice vermouth. Coqui makes a really nice, it's a slightly bitter Dopo Teatro, killer vermouth. I know you guys also have some vermouths as well, but that makes a great Negroni, that barrel gin.
Perfect.
And I know that this isn't in the recipes, but just one more tip, because I do love Negronis, is you can do that same drink, but use a rye whiskey, and then it's called a Boulevardier. Another great cocktail if you're looking for something a little bit deeper, richer, bigger. Yeah.
For sure. Thanks for the tips.
Yeah, couldn't help myself. Okay, just fill my mixing glass back up, rinse out my jigger. So for the next one, we are gonna use our rye whiskey right here. And we're gonna make a classic Manhattan. As you can see, there's a theme here. I think simpler is better. When you're home, you want an easy drink, you're thirsty, making your own orgeat is great and all, but I mean, who has time for that? I certainly don't. So I want to just grab stuff that's on hand. So I haven't changed this recipe a whole lot from what you're going to find, but classic Manhattan, you've got 2 ounces of our straight rye, which I will go ahead and throw into my mixing glass. And then a vermouth. So because that's what I have right now, I'm going to use that Coqui vermouth I mentioned earlier, which is, it's kind of a blend between a vermouth and an Amaro. But I'm going to do 1 ounce of this. And I'm going to go ahead and get an ice cube. Again, this is traditionally served up. I sometimes like a cube in mine, like to take my time with it. I'm gonna grab one more crystal clear cube. Like so.
Nice.
And we are going to chill this down, get it nice and cold. Oh, almost forgot the bitters. We make some bitters here. Bitters are important. We make some bitters here. Buffa Bittering Company, give Michael a shout out. I know you guys also stock a bunch of great bitters on your site.
Yep.
This is called an old fashioned bitters. This is where you can really get creative and get fun. and you can use a chocolate bitter, you can use an apricot bitter, you can kind of use whatever you want. You can use what you have. Do 2 shots of that, and then I'm going to actually just give it 1 shot of an Angostura bitters.
Oh, nice.
I lied, it was 3 shots. I like the bitter, so I'm not afraid. All right. That is complete. I'm gonna go ahead and take that and pour it over my crystal clear cube. Nice. And you can't forget the cherry, kind of the most important part. Give me 1 second.
We have all the time in the world, don't worry.
I got my little cocktail pick. It's not the prettiest one, but it's what we've got. These are the cherries we use in our tasting room, Fabry. Similar to a Luxardo. They're a Italian cherry from Bologna. Fantastic, delicious. I'd say stay away from the maraschino cherries. They're imposters. They're actually just little pieces of candy dressed up as a cherry. There we go. So I got 2 of those. I'm gonna go ahead and skewer them. Don't worry if you get a little bit of that juice in there. Makes the drink even better. Lay that on top.
Sweet.
There you have it. It's a Manhattan, Manifest style.
Looks awesome. There you go. Now you've got 2 drinks to consume.
Yeah, I've got my work cut out for me.
There you go. Before we conclude, I've got just one question for you. But you've talked about Manifest and what you guys are doing. But what's coming in the future? What do you guys have that's coming up that's super exciting for the distillery?
Yeah. So in addition to what we produce and what I've shared with you guys today, I am particularly excited about the American malt whiskey category. It's one that has been an underground thing for quite a long time, and a series of craft producers have established the American Malt Whiskey Collective or Society. I'm butchering that name, but as a lot of producers in America are making it and kind of defining the category as we speak. So it's really neat for us. We've participated in that. We actually make one right here, which isn't a part of today's video, but that's the bottle. It is an American malt whiskey. It's based on a stout recipe, and then we just kind of adjusted that to make it a malt. We'll be doing more of those, and we may dive into rum at some point, in addition to what we're producing. But those are the 2 things that we're excited about. We make a line of liqueurs as well. You guys have the Fernet, I believe, and we also make a coffee liqueur. Which we don't have up there yet because I don't think it was available. But the coffee liqueur is a very cool project. I could spend 30 minutes on that alone, so I won't go into it. But we make it in concert with a local roaster. But yeah, lots to be excited about.
For sure. And I just had one question come in too that asked about, now that you brought up that malt whiskey, they're asking what makes it different. I know you kind of touched on the stoutness, but
without knowing if they're asking what makes it different from a typical Scotch whiskey or another American malt.
My question is, I phrased that incorrectly. What makes malt whiskey different than other whiskeys? Just a classic malt whiskey. Got
it. So when you think of a malt whiskey, think of a Scotch. Scotches are made from 100% malted grain. So it can be, it's mostly malted barley, but you can use other malted grains. And the malting process is just the process of starting to sprout or germinate a grain, which releases a little bit of an enzyme that helps that starch conversion, which is kind of, taking history back. That's where a lot of whiskey production started, was obviously around that malt. So what makes that different is that it is 100% malted grains.
Perfect. I'm going to conclude the episode on that. That sounds awesome. I want to thank everybody for joining us for this 6th episode of the Virtual Happy Hour here with Spirit Hub. Thank you, David, for taking the time out of your day, as well as the people that reviewing us. If you are interested in the cocktail recipes and the spirits, you can visit us on spirithub.com. There's a possibility they're also in the feed that should have been fed over. But definitely check our website to get David's awesome product at Manifest Distilling, as well as make those wonderful cocktails that he just made for us. On top of that, we have a special promotion. We're offering a 10% off plus free shipping for Illinois customers. So that's with promo code HAPPY6, so HAPPY 6, and that expires May 8th. So go ahead and go get, David's got those 3 products there. He also has a wonderful line of vodkas that I'm sure will be appetizing as well. So go ahead and look there. David, if you have anything else to say.
No, thanks for doing this, Paul. We're available as well. You can look us up on Instagram at Manifest Distilling, or on Facebook, just search Manifest Distilling, or our website, manifestdistilling.com. You notice a theme there, but we're real easy to get in touch with. If you ever have questions about any of our products, oftentimes it's myself or Hannah who works on our marketing and social media. We're both real good about getting back to you. So feel free to reach out. But thanks to Spirit Hub. We love that you guys planned this, and we'll see you again next time, I guess.
For sure. Well, thanks everybody, and everyone be careful, stay safe, and have a good night.